Have you ever stopped to think about how the exact same place can feel completely different depending on who you are? Why one person feels right at home while another just can't wait to leave? Well, that's what we're diving into today. How our surroundings can be a launch pad for one person and a total obstacle course for another.
And let's get specific. Think about this for a second. How can someone be an absolute rock star in a quiet lecture hall, just brilliant, but then be completely overwhelmed and shut down at a loud company town hall? It's the same person, same brain. So what's really going on here? And this lays it out perfectly. It's like looking at two different people. In the lecture hall, everything's clicking. They're thriving, focused, asking amazing questions. But transport that same person to the town hall, and suddenly they're overwhelmed, distracted, maybe can't even get a word out. The key takeaway? It's not about their intelligence or their ability. It's all about the context. Okay, so to really understand why this happens, we need to pop the hood and take a look at our brain's inner operating system. There are two key processes that are running the show behind the scenes. First up, you've got sensory processing. This is basically how your brain gets all the messages from the outside world. Everything you see, hear, and feel, and then tries to make sense of it all. For a lot of people, this whole process just hums along quietly in the background like a well-behaved app. But for others, well, it's a completely different story. I love this metaphor from the source material. For many autistic people, it's like their sensory system has these super-powered antennas. They're picking up on sounds, lights, and details that other people might not even notice. Now, sometimes that can be a superpower, but you can imagine how it can also get incredibly overwhelming, really fast. And get this, it's not just a feeling or an anecdote. Solid research backs this up. A major meta-analysis actually confirmed that people with ADHD also experience the world with the volume turned way up. Their sensory patterns are just significantly more intense. So this constant effort to filter a high-def world is a very real neurological thing. So the second piece of the puzzle is what we call executive functioning. The easiest way to think about it is as the command center of your brain. It's the CEO in charge of planning, focus, managing your time, and, stopping you from blurting out the first thing that comes to mind. It's mission control for just getting through the day. So you've got these two big systems, sensory processing and executive functioning. What happens when an environment puts a ton of stress on both of them at the same time? Well, that's when the world gets turned up to 11. This chart breaks it down so well. Let's take a busy cafe. You've got constant noise, smells, people moving everywhere. Those are the sensory triggers. Your executive function is working overtime just to filter all that out so you can start your work. Or a lecture hall. Maybe it's the buzzing fluorescent lights that are the trigger, making it so much harder to sustain focus. And then the town hall, loud audio, bright screens, and the social pressure, that can drain your whole system. When that kind of overload happens day after day, it can lead to something called autistic burnout. And the battery metaphor is just spot on. Imagine your brain as a phone battery, and every single one of those stressors is an app running in the background. Eventually, you just run out of juice. It's a profound exhaustion that makes even simple tasks feel impossible. This quote from an autistic psychologist just captures that feeling so powerfully. It's not just about being tired. It's like your protective layer is gone. Your sensory threshold becomes incredibly thin and delicate. And even the smallest things can feel like way too much. So this brings us to a really crucial question. We've been talking a lot about the challenges a person faces in these environments. But what if we've been looking at this whole thing backwards? What if the problem isn't the person? What if we should be changing the environment instead? And that's exactly where we're going next. We're going to talk about designing for every kind of mind. Because it turns out you don't have to rebuild the world from scratch. Sometimes it's the smallest changes that make the biggest difference. The big idea behind all of this is called neuro-inclusive design. It sounds kind of academic, but it's really a simple, almost radical idea. Instead of forcing everyone into a one-size-fits-all box, what if we built our spaces and our systems to be flexible enough for all the different ways human brains actually work? And look at how doable this really is. We're not talking about knocking down walls. We're talking about simple but incredibly powerful supports. Things like having quiet zones available, providing clear written instructions, being flexible with schedules, and just normalizing things like taking breaks or using noise-canceling headphones. These little things can be a total game changer. Now this is a fascinating insight. It all comes down to control. Think about it. The loud noise of a blender might be completely jarring and awful if someone else just flips it on without warning. But if you're the one about to turn it on, your brain is prepared. It's the same sound, but that tiny bit of control and predictability makes all the difference. So, how can we actually start doing this? It can be as simple as this three-step approach. Number one, collaborate. Don't guess what people need, just ask. Involve neurodivergent folks in the planning right from the start. Two, offer flexibility. Recognize there isn't one right way to do things. And three, seek feedback. Make it a normal thing to check in and ask, hey, how is this space working for you? What could we do better? All right, as we wrap up, if there is one thing, one single idea to take away from all this, it's this. Context is everything. It's often the environment, not the person, that truly needs to change. You see, for so long, we've framed these challenges as some kind of individual deficit. But what all this really shows is that the struggle often isn't caused by a person's own traits, it's caused by the friction between those traits and a world that's inflexible and just wasn't built with them in mind. The problem is the barrier, not the person. And that leaves us with a final thought, a question for you. Because this isn't just for architects or managers, it applies to all of us. We all have some control over the spaces we're in, our office, our classroom, even our own home. So what's one small change you can make this week to make a space you influence a little more inclusive for every mind?